So I've been producing a lot of content around why now is a really good time to um, build a personal brand. And in this video, I'm going to expound on a couple of the reasons because I think at the surface sometimes we think like, oh well, let's build a personal brand because it's this optional thing, like it's optional. In 2026, it is. I don't believe it's optional anymore. I think creating a personal brand is absolutely mandatory, and we're seeing symptoms of it. First and foremost, one of the founders of LinkedIn has indicated that in like by 2034 or 2035, over 50% of I don't want to say the world. I think it was the United States. I think he was talking about nationally, but a large percentage of people are going to be fractional workers, or they're going to be just independent solo workers. So there's going to be enough there's going to be enough tools to be able to execute and amplify what your individual output would be. So years ago, the unit of scale for different businesses was people, because you needed someone to take a look at your financial reports and do financial stuff and your accounting. You needed someone else to look at your billables. You needed someone else to look at all this stuff. Now we're entering into a phase where AI, as an individual, and I'm speaking to you as an individual, AI will be able to supplement a lot of those tasks that were otherwise uh, like you needed a person to do. So just imagine, uh, years ago, to run an emerging business or a small business, you needed at least seven people to do different things. You needed someone to manage your finances, your bookkeeping. You needed someone to manage like your HR, your supply chain stuff. You needed somebody to in your partnerships. You needed somebody to handle your administrative stuff, your notes. You needed people to do certain things. Imagine getting to a point, or actually, no, don't imagine it anymore. There are tools out there now where you, as an individual, you could just put different applications in place or different agents in place, and that stuff is taken care of. So I'm bringing this up because these companies are realizing that the units of scale don't match up to the output anymore. So you, as an individual, that actually empowers you a bit more. Now the challenge though is, in order for you to be able to lean into this this market, whatever market you're in order for you to lean into that market, you have to have some type of personal brand that's already published. You have to. The problems didn't go anywhere. The problems are still there. Again, these companies are laying off hundreds of thousands of people. We're not even out of the first quarter of the year yet. Hundreds of thousands of people are losing their jobs, and it's more difficult now more than ever to find one. So what are people saying? They're saying, well, I still have this skill. People still have this problem, but they need to connect the dot between these problems needing to be solved and their ability to support solving it. All right. So again, now is the absolute perfect time. And one of the first things that people do when they say, oh, well, you're telling me you can solve my problem, the first thing that they do is they look up your personal brand. That's the first thing that they're going to do. They're going to hop on LinkedIn. They're going to hop on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, whatever. They're going to hop on these platforms. They're going to look for you as an individual. Like, they're going to look for your website, and they're going to look you up. That's natural. So if they don't see that this is what you do, then it's one of two things may happen. For one, they won't trust you. It's just like, oh well, you're not gonna get a sale from me because I don't know if this is what you do. Or secondly, the other thing that they may do is, even if they get to the point where they trust you enough to say, oh well, you know what, we could potentially do business. The 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 tone and the way that your brand speaks will determine how they will perceive the investment in it. So, like, have you ever heard that quote? Well, I don't even know if it's a quote because I kind of made this up. So I don't know if someone else said it before, but um, I always used to say, people will ask for discounts if your brand looks discounted. People will ask for discounts if your brand looks discounted. So if you don't have a brand that's speaking to, like, hey, I support people with solving big problems. Um, I invest in my brand, therefore you should invest in the solutions to support yours. Like if you don't, if your brand doesn't give off that posture of like, hey, like my brand is it, then they're gonna ask you for discounts. Always. I remember some years ago, I can still recall this one guy. He was we didn't do business together. I forgot why, but he just had a he didn't like me very much. I can't recall why we didn't do business, but we didn't do business. And I remember he wrote this post, and it was like it said something about Mike is always talking about um, how much money he makes and all this stuff, and Mike is always talking about this and all this flashy stuff. And I remember looking at this post, and there were a bunch of people that were commenting, and they were like, "What are you talking about?" And what was funny was I recorded a video and I responded to it, and I was like, well, he that's how he perceived what my brand was saying. So my brand said expensive offerings. My brand said a lot of clients. My brand said tremendous, income, and a lot, like my brand was speaking that everything that you saw, my website and my social media, the quality of my videos, everything else other than me said that. Everything said that. And so that's what he read into. And so that's what he basically said. There were no videos that I ever published or anything that I ever said saying that I make all this money. I don't never. Um, but he saw that, and that's why I'm bringing up the fact that if you start now and you start to build a personal brand that the volume of the brand can speak a lot louder and faster than you can speak, I think it could provide you with a tremendous benefit. Again, now that we're entering into the season where like we really have to lean on our personal brand to ensure that our livelihoods don't get negatively impacted, because we can't think that like our all of the work that we've put in to our career and all of that is essentially in the hands of someone else. And I don't want to say that it's a bad thing to be employed or to work for a company. It's not a bad thing. The challenge though is that they have to make decisions prioritizing the organization, the corporation. The word employment comes from the word ploy. The word employment comes from the word ploy. The word ploy stands for essentially to serve one's own interest. The company needs to do what's best in order to serve itself. It can't think, oh well, Mike worked so hard for this company. John worked so hard for this company. No, we did. We have to prioritize John. We have to prioritize Mike. That is not how this works. You have to prioritize company A. So for one, if you're a part of any of these layoffs, just know that there's a lot of factors that you have no control over. None. There are plenty of things that are way more powerful than you. And but the one thing that you do have a tremendous amount of power over is your ability to build and create something that could serve you and to serve like what you're creating and what you're building for the years to come. So if you have any questions about this stuff, one, as always, do not hesitate to hit me up. Two, there's a link in the description to get a copy of my Mastering the Art of Social Selling ebook. Always excited to get feedback on the ebook and to see how people are putting those principles into practice. All right. So if you have any questions, hit me up. Peace.